Hey guys, it's Gavin with Fifer Hobby and Gavin Faivre Productions. Welcome back to another video, and welcome back to the channel. You are most likely watching this on either my channel or Mike's channel, and either way, I'm happy that you're here. This video is going to be a little different. I haven't posted anything in about a year now. Really sorry about that. Life's just been really busy. Just kind of adjusting. I'm now a freshman at NMSU, New Mexico State University, which I'm really excited about. But because of that, I don't really have a lot of time. So this video is going to be mostly talking about my techniques and the way I weather these cars here. So I did about 4 cars for one of my clients. These are new Microtrains Union Pacific 3-bay coal hoppers. And you see here that I'm using an airbrush right now just to kind of dull down the base brown, because it is really glossy and really shiny. So I'm using a mixture of a couple of Vallejo colors, I believe dark brown and rust, to really get this color that matches the color of the car itself. So we see here that the car at the bottom is really getting covered in grime and dirt. I'm really making sure that I paint the bottom of the car really well and really emphasize the dirt and the grime on the bottom of these coal cars. Now, this customer ordered each car to have basic weathering, and basic weathering, at least for my standards, are pretty simple. I try to base the car off of what it would look like when it would have quote-unquote basic weathering. So because this is an older coal hopper, my era for looking at prototype pictures is going to be around the mid 80s. It may be maybe a little bit into the 90s, but that's where I kind of look, because if we go any further, we really start to see the car really get rusty, and that becomes a different project in itself. So what I like to emphasize when people order these types of cars is that the basic weathering is just going to look like a regular car. It's going to fit into your road train, fit into your unit train, fit into a manifest train. It'll fit in and it'll look good, and it looks like just a dirty car, and it won't look like a rust bucket. It's not pitting and peeling just yet, but it has acquired some grime, it has acquired some dirt. As you see here, I'm kind of going up and down on the car, just trying to get the whole thing covered, trying to focus on the ribs and the sides right there, really get underneath where the coupler box is. And for N scale, weathering cars in N scale is a little bit different as opposed to HO scale. So HO scale is obviously a bigger scale, so you're working with a lot more car. N scale, you're really working with you really have to think more broad strokes. So you're not going to get as much detail when you're weathering a car in N scale as you would if you were to do HO. So keep that in mind. And I know that's hard for some people because you see N scale and you're like, oh yeah, you could totally fit all the detail onto that car, and it just doesn't look right. If you try to put too much grime, too much rust, too much information, onto a car, too much paint, it just looks wrong. It just looks off. So I try to keep it simple. My approach for these is simple. Right here, so I finished all of these up, and now I'm going to go in and I'm going to use this is Model Air. I think it's just rust. So I put that in my airbrush, as you can see there, if I can get it to focus. And I'm just going to go in and I'm going to blast the inside of these cars. So again, the inside of these cars are not going to be they're not going to be clean, right? Because they are coal cars, but they're not going to be too rusted. They're going to have a little bit of rust on the side of the car, inside of the car, and we'll get to that. So the first step of the process that I like using when I'm weathering the inside of a coal car is paint it almost a reddish rust color, and you can see the difference between the inside of the one I just painted and the one I'm painting right now. The one that's the brand new one without any paint is very glossy. It just looks like a toy. So what we're going to try to do here is we're going to use rust color to paint the inside here. Really get everywhere in the car. Just saturate it. And make sure you're covering everywhere inside that car. Just like you see here. And for the next step, we are going... Well, actually right here you can see the amazing sort of detail you get when you spray inside the car. You kind of get a splatter effect on the side of the car, which I think adds a lot of character to the car. Right here, I'm going to start using my oil paints. So I'm using just Winsor & Newton water mixable oils. But I do use, instead of just regular oil or water, which you can use, I'm going to go ahead and use mineral spirits. This is just Artist white spirits that I got at Hobby Lobby for $6. Really great. I love using it. It works really well. I recommend it for anybody. So I'm gonna put a little bit of the mineral spirit in my cup there that you can see, that white little cap, and I'm gonna use this kind of just this brush. I don't really know what you'd call it. It's just a flat bristle brush. And I'm gonna dip it in the mineral spirits, and can't really see. There you go. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try and get a puddle of oil paint going. See how it's runny? That's kind of what you want to start off. If any of you haven't worked with oil paints before, just experiment. But for what I'm doing here, I'm going to show you guys kind of the consistency that you want. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply this to the inside of the car, and you see how it runs. You see how watery that is, and it kind of runs into the corner. That's a little bit too watery for me. You see that right there. You see kind of how it puddles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and keep the amount of oil or mineral spirits that I did have, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce more oil paint to my puddle there of paint, and I'm just going to experiment and see. That's still a little bit too watery, but it acts as a very good coat. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to keep adding more oil paint into the car. Trying to mix it and get the right consistency, because you don't want it to be too watery, but you don't want it to be too thick either. So it's just trying to find, it's just a matter of trying to find the consistency there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and, if it focuses, I'm going to go ahead and try and paint the side of the car, inside of the car, and you can kind of see the difference between the unpainted side and the painted side. Extremely big difference. Oil paints, in my opinion, are the greatest asset that you can have when weathering a car. I know it's really daunting and kind of scary to start working with oil paints, especially on models, but it's totally worth it. So right here I have a different color. This is Raw Umber. Again, this is this is actually Master Touch, which is a different brand than what I was using before, but regardless, it still works great. Really, any oil paints are going to work for the applications we're using here. So the darker color is going to be on the outside of the car, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to really apply this oil paint on the outside, kind of thick. So it's going to go on kind of thick here, and I'm gonna start somewhere in the middle, and you can see how I kind of vibrate the brush, if you would, and that creates sort of a ripple effect on the side of the car, which imitates kind of the warping effect you see on a lot of these coal cars, gondolas, hopper cars, any car. You're going to see warping. And the technique that I'm using right there, which is basically just kind of vibrating your brush up and down really quickly, that gives me a really good warping effect on the car. Now you see it kind of looks weird. It's kind of bad. Because I put too much oil paint right there where the U and the A are, or where the A is, excuse me. You can kind of see that. It's a little, you can start to see the effect that I was going for with the warping right there, which looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get some more mineral spirits. Let's see if this camera can focus for me here. There you go. And I'm just going to go ahead and start blending out the oil paint where it's a little too thick on the car body. And you can see the difference already. I mean, we've just used two techniques so far. oil paints and airbrushing, and the car looks completely different. It looks like a beautiful car. It looks really good, and you can see the inside of the car where it is really rusty. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna repeat this process on the other side, of the car here, and just repeat the process. Keep shaking your hand, kind of vibrating it down to imitate the warping effect on these cars, and you will get a great looking car, in my opinion. Yeah, that's really the only part of this car that would take a little bit of finesse. But other than that, I mean, this car's turning out great. So now that I've finished the oil paint, I go ahead and I dull coated the whole car, and I put the load back in. So at this point, the oil paint is dry, and it is ready for a little bit of chalk. So the chalk that I'm using is Pan Pastel. It's not really a chalk. It's a weird medium to work with, because it's a lot thicker than chalk. So I put a little bit on my brush, and I brush a lot of it off. And I'm gonna start off on top, and you're gonna say, "Oh my God, you just messed up the car." See, right there. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of brush it out. So Pan Pastels work really well, and they blend in really easily. So I was able to get a lot of that blended in on the side of the car there, and it looks more like fading. I'm not really going for like a spill off the side of the car, but more kind of fading the side of the car. Let me see if, there we go. Get it back in shot here. Just kind of pushing the car, pulling that car, the chalk on the car down, and just little bit by little bit, blending everything in to kind of give it the paint a faded effect without actually having to use an airbrush, without actually having to use oil paints to get this effect. And that's why I love chalk, is because you can do a lot of these effects without the hassle of setting up an airbrush, or trying to work with oil paints on top of oil paints, which, if you have any experience, can be a little challenging if you don't let it sit long enough. But in this case, I'm just going to use chalk. Again, I'm going to do this on every single car, just really fast. I'm going to go up and down on the side of the car really fast with the brush, blend everything in there, and just work the chalk into the side of the car and get the effect that I'm looking for. So it is going to go on quite bright, and that might scare you, but really just work on blending it into the car, and I think that should be fine. You know, that looks really good to me. That looks like a faded panel, and I'm really happy with that. So I'm going to go on to the last car here, and just go ahead and finish up with this one. Again, the same technique here. Just getting some of that. It's not even white chalk almost. It's like a tan color. So it also works really well. Instead of, in my opinion, I would use this tan color Pan Pastel rather than white, because white can just be a little. Oh, let me fix this. Let me fix this wheel real quick. So fixing wheels and end scale is a little tricky, as you can see. You're trying to push the pin on the side of the wheel back into the little divot on the truck, and I thankfully I got that. But you can see how well that car turned out with the oil paint. I think I did a phenomenal job. Again, it just looks really well. It looks really good, and I think it pulled it off really well. So I'm gonna try and work from the bottom here. If it'll focus for me, Jesus. Work from the bottom here. Again, go up and down, try blending stuff, and some sides won't be as faded as others. Again, this car is try and imagine this car running on your layout if you're modeling the 80s. So it's not gonna, there's no graffiti, there's no real rust appearing on the car just yet. Just general grime, and you can see the 4 here, if it'll come into focus, the 4 that I finished. So I'm really excited with how they turned out. Again, look at that. If it'll get the camera to focus here, look at that. I think that looks really good. And the camera doesn't do them justice, because you can see the warping effect that I pulled off with the oil paints a lot better in person. But I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Here's the last car. Look at that. That looks awesome. That looks really good. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to do this a little more often. There you go. There's a good shot when I get it focused. I'm going to do this a lot more often, so look out for videos. I'm going to post this both on Mike's page and on my page, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for watching.